Hello, everybody. Happy Friday. Let us know if you're catching the adventures of Steph and Tracy, #live or #replay. Today, we are going to talk about what were the most common phrases that we've heard in the last 13 months. So let us know if you have any favorite phrases in the comments. Tracy, how was your week?
It was good. We only had kids for 4 days, but it still felt like a longish week. Everybody's a little edgy, I think. Getting tired.
I think everybody is tired. It was a very busy week. Lots of things going on, lots of learning, lots of kind of nice weather, but still really cold outside, and everybody kind of transitioning from indoor activities to maybe some outdoor activities. I know ball season's kind of starting to get rolling outside. Lots of things are wrapping up. So let us know if you're catching this #live or #replay. And our topic for today is, what are your most common, or what do you remember most about 2020? What are the most common phrases? So we did some quick searching before we came online. And I was going to ask you about Dave the Donkey, because our many viewers, all of you watching out there, are always curious about the updates to Dave the Donkey. Not Dave, my husband.
Dave is good. He doesn't like it when I leave the yard with other horses, so he hasn't been braying very much lately. But when I went for a ride yesterday, he decided that he didn't like that so much, even though he was still there with his buddy. But he brays now, typically only when we leave the yard. So it is a very ridiculous sound, but it makes me smile.
I was going to say braying is, I was thinking of neighing, and then you were like braying, and I'm like, that's true.
It's his hee-haw.
Yeah. So you'll know you're at Tracy's house if you can hear the donkey making noise. Yeah. But now he has a house. The weather is getting nicer. He has some friends. I have yet to meet Dave the donkey. One day when restrictions lift, then I'll actually be able to go and visit Tracy someday. So let's talk about the most common phrases of 2020. Hello to Renee and hello to Kayla. Thank you so much for joining us. Let us know in the comments where you're joining us from. And if you think of a phrase, let us know. So first one up that we found is
unprecedented. I was so tired of hearing that word when we went back to school, and things would change, and something would change in healthcare, and then something would change in education, and it's unprecedented time.
How many times here's my wonder, how many times can you say unprecedented before it's kind of an overused precedent?
I think we've done it.
That was just my curious wonder. Let us know in the comments here. I'm just going to check quick. Kayla says Dave the donkey is so cute.
He is. He likes to cuddle now too. So you're on mute, says Renee. That was one of ours.
I'm not sure if I said that today. I might have said that today. I say that quite frequently on video calls and PD sessions. You're on mute. Today, I think we had a microphone that went out. So they weren't actually on mute. The microphone just stopped, or someone randomly muted someone else. So that can happen sometimes to even the person that's presenting. So yes, that is one of the phrases that came up. And Renee says it's a balmy 4 degrees there today. I'm not sure what it actually got to be outside here. It was
about 16, but now the wind has picked up, so it's not great again. But the tractors are rolling and seeding has begun, so that's always a good thing.
And I looked out, though. I always look up here because I can see light, because there's a bigger window in our basement. And I'm like, well, it kind of looks like the sky is blue and the trees still waving in the wind. The gate and the fence is not shaking. There were times last year when I was working from home that I'd look out and the wind was so crazy, the fence was moving. So yes, let's see. Renee says it happens to her a lot. Yes, could be on mute. And occasionally I accidentally hit a wrong button and Tracy disappears from the StreamYard call. Kayla said it is now 14 here. So that's a pretty good day. So like Tracy said, tractors are rolling. Spring is, I'm hoping, officially here. We're headed into Mother's Day weekend. So we should say a happy Mother's Day to all of the amazing mothers out there. And it's gardening season. So pretty soon we're going to be able to pick out flowers and maybe actually leave them outside. That's always the thing in Saskatchewan. You can buy the beautiful flowers, you just can't put them outside till...
Every year, I swear, I'm not going to buy them and have to drag them in and out and cover them up. And I do it every year. Every year I end up doing that.
Yes,
It,
I saw Mindy's post about she was sitting beside a pool. There was even a duck
mhm.
swimming in the pool that I think came to visit, but it looked so beautiful out. I think she said it was so sunny. She needed sunglasses. I'm like, it'll be nice when we have when summer is here in Saskatchewan. Yes,
Mhm.
and happy Mother's Day, Kayla says. So let's go back and keep those comments coming. We are going to go on to our next word. So from unprecedented to virtual happy hour. Probably something
I
not a lot of
yeah,
people did before.
yeah, and actually, I had an uncle pass away during COVID, and we have yet to have a face-to-face celebration of his life, and so they did do a virtual celebration of life about a month ago, and that has turned into a group of us cousins that are all over Canada, have gathered on a couple of occasions, not so much for the virtual happy hour, but to visit and to play some games virtually. So
Right.
just a way to stay connected that we have never done before. So probably more connection there than we ever have, which is kind of
So,
cool.
so that's good. A chance to pull
Mm.
everybody together. What games work well for a virtual family gathering?
There was an app. I lost it off the top of my head. There's an app that we were using that could be used on platform, either phone or tablet or computer. I can't remember what it was called, but
Nice.
yeah.
Kayla says she bought flowers today. That's good. It's a good sign that spring is almost here. And Renee says usually after May 25th. Yeah, I would say
Hmm.
it's likely after the long weekend before we actually leave anything outside. And then you still have to check the frost warnings. I'm pointing to my hand because it's usually where my phone is, and I'd have to check for frost warnings. And yes, Renee says virtual happy hour sounds great. It's actually how one of our favorite adventures started.
Yeah.
So virtual happy hours can have all sorts of amazing things come from them. So we hope that you're able to connect with friends and family. So we had unprecedented virtual happy hour, and then wildfire was one of
Hmm.
the most common phrases. And I think
Yeah.
Tracy said that was referring to.
Those are referring to the California wildfires. I think there are typically always fires, but I think last year during COVID it was particularly destructive. So, amongst all of the rest of the stuff that was going on in the world, then those communities, I think it was several that were impacted, had to deal with that on top of it all.
Yes, and there was I was just thinking last year, every month there seemed to be something new in the world that was happening. And I think after July, people just kind of forgot and just rolled with it from
Yeah.
there. This next one, let us know if you've ever been on one of these calls. So have you spent a lot of time on Zoom in the past year, or maybe Teams, or Zoom or Teams are probably the most common, maybe Google Meet,
Google Meet. Yeah.
maybe WebEx or some of those other ones, but Zoom is
Mhm.
probably the most interactive one. We've spent a lot of time on Zoom calls. It's how we get to see each other more often if we're not in StreamYard. So that's also one of the ways that we can connect with people. So let us know in the comments if you've been on a Zoom call this year. How does it work for you? And here was the one that Renee mentioned. You're muted.
Mhm.
I
I
think you're
love it when you can see people's mouths moving and they're just halfway into their comment and you're muted.
everybody's being really polite and just
Yeah.
waiting. And then we all kind of lean in because it's really
Yeah.
hard to hear. People get quiet and I lean into the computer. I'm like, that's not going to help me. I could actually just turn up the volume on the computer. But yes, audio issues have been a challenge. It's nice to see people. I really like it when people actually turn their video on. At least then you can tell if they're muted. There is one of my favorite I think videos on Facebook is they act out a Zoom meeting in real life. So
Yeah.
there's people knocking at the door and they're like, I can't get in. I don't remember the code. And they're shaking the door and there's two people in the room. And then a third one comes in and he's mid sentence and then disappears. And they're like, oh, we lost him again. And then everybody's talking at once. And yeah, it depends on the delay that you have in the video calls. So our next one.
I'm really tired of this word, to be totally honest with you. I am just kind of over it. Yeah. I think there's groups of our population right now, I don't want to get into too much, but that are really struggling. Like the kids are struggling and the older people in our community are struggling. I know Russ's grandma this last year hasn't been kind. She's 98 and yeah, she's so lonely and it's hard to see. So yes, it needs to get nice so we can be together.
Yes, let's defeat COVID so that we can kind of go back, take what we've learned for how much we actually appreciate interacting with each other, and perhaps the not as crazy hectic schedules that we've set up for ourselves, and find some positive ways to reconnect. Because I think there'll be some big family gatherings once we're all allowed to be in one place. I know before restrictions changed, we were able to visit with my family and my husband's family. We did some more visiting outside, and were able to at least be near them because we hadn't seen them since Thanksgiving. So it's a long go until Easter. Normally it's not that we see everybody super often, but it is nice to be able to meet up when it works rather than thinking we have to meet in a parking lot somewhere and stand far enough apart. But it's really windy in Saskatchewan, so it's cold. But hopefully social distancing will be one of those things that we look back on hopefully soon. Next up is a phrase you may have heard used in the past year. You may have even seen some memes on that. So, Karens.
Stop being a Karen.
I apologize to any of the Karens that are out there that's your name. I think I was reading about it and it said the phrase was always kind of used in that same descriptor, but it didn't catch on until 2020. So I'm curious what it was in 2020 that made it pick up like that. But let's go on to the next one. It is remote learning.
Something I never thought I would ever, I tried to take a couple of online classes when I was going to university and it just didn't work for me. And so when they told us that we were going home to teach last spring, and I was like, I'm doing what now? And
I like the look that you're like.
Yeah, so that's how I felt most of May and June last year. I was like, and I'm doing what now? And the kids are like, and we're doing what now? And then lots of you're on mute. But yeah. So yeah, it was a definite steep learning curve, but it worked. We made it work.
Yes. We've heard a lot about flattening the curve. We haven't really heard that term used a lot this year, but last year at this time, I can't even talk. It's Friday. Tracy's brick backdrop is moving.
It is. I just have to see why the dogs are barking, so I will be right back.
Yes. So flatten the curve was one of the things that we talked about. One of the other ones was working in pods. So if you're at the office, you're only allowed to work with people that are basically kind of the people that you'll see every day. So you're working in cohorts. Maybe that's how it was. One of the other terms that we heard frequently in 2020 was COVID. And so COVID, probably you've heard it referred to as corona, as the virus, as many other terms. Drop in the comments if you've heard different phrases for COVID, but that was something we had never heard before. But now we've all talked about quite a bit. And so while we wait for Tracy to return, there she is. No, that's okay. I was like, we just talked about working in pods and COVID. It's just like being in a Zoom meeting where somebody just got dropped out of the call and had to come back in. It's all good. Next one.
Oh, quarantine cleaning. I'm not good at this. And luckily we didn't have to, my family, fingers crossed, has not been one that has had to quarantine. Luckily, I know there's lots of families in our community who are right now. And the quarantine cleaning and just being more diligent. I think there are pieces we can take away from this too, in terms of the school specifically, the use of hand sanitizer and the cleaning of devices and those kinds of things, I think has caused for a much healthier environment for us overall. But yeah, the deep clean,
all sorts of corn cleaning. They didn't talk about corn eating or all of the baking, the corn baking. Maybe that was another term. Lots of baking happening last spring. I was like, what? How many? It seems so long ago. What was life like before COVID? So, next one.
I don't know how many times I've gotten halfway to a store or like the grocery, not that we go very far, but to the grocery store or into the gas station and go, oh crap, and had to go back.
I go to the post office and I got out of the car. I'm like, nope, get back in the car, put the mask on. I'm like, how many masks do you carry in your purse or your pockets? And do your masks disappear on you? Because my family seems to.
We go through tons. I don't know where ours have gone.
Yes.
But yeah, we have gone through so many.
It's like socks, except it's not the washer or the dryer that's eating them. It's
well, I think our dryer has eaten some actually.
That should be a whole episode. What has your dryer eaten on your what have you found?
That's true.
Dryer. Every once in a while, the dryer pays out because somebody forgets money in their pocket. I'm like, ooh, shiny loonies and toonies. And our last phrase of the evening.
That's right. Yeah, in terms of being able to see people, and I was one that hated FaceTime, and I've learned to love it, having a son who is living across the country and not being able to see lots of our family and friends, and being on video calls has certainly made the whole FaceTime and getting what we can out of being able to talk and see each other. So it is better than nothing.
Yes. And so with that, this was your Friday night edition of The Adventures of Steph and Tracy, guaranteed to get more exciting once we can actually be in the same place. And it's getting warmer out, so eventually we might actually be able to go different places. So we hope that was better than nothing tonight for you. And we thank you for joining us. If you'd like to join us on another episode of Adventures of Steph and Tracy, we would love to have some guests. And I think that's what we'll be doing more in the future. Once we get a little more organized, we will have special guests with us on the call. So let us know if you have any topics you'd like us to cover, if you have funny headlines or anything like that. So this was our kind of, I don't know how many we had, top 10 words of 2020. So it was better than nothing. It's always great to see you, Tracy. So thank you everybody for watching. Have a great night.